On this. Hey Tim, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks so much for joining us on this video today and just sharing a little bit about your journey with us and the program and so forth. So, mate, if you just want to start by introducing yourself, just a bit about yourself and who you are in your life.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Tim Walsh, and I'm a father of three beautiful kids. I've got twin girls that are 4 years old, and I've got a young boy who's just started school. He's 6 years old, and beautiful wife, Alyssa. I'm also a business owner. I own a recruitment company that works across Victoria and Queensland, is going through some exciting periods of growth and change and achievement, I suppose. And I'm someone who is, I guess, really motivated to turn up each day and do my best and develop not only personally but professionally, and care deeply about the people around me that I'm fortunate enough to share my life with, and care deeply about people generally, which is a handy sort of a handy value, I guess, when working in the recruitment industry, when we're surrounded by people each day. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Totally. And being really driven entrepreneurial businessman, family, all of that sort of stuff. What sort of challenges and problems were you facing or were kind of struck with when you started looking for a coach and started talking to us?
I think it was a gradual build up over time. As I said, I'm someone who tries to get the most out of each day and tries to learn and develop and get better, and always looked at life as something to sort of, I don't know, in a sense, like be conquered almost, like to overcome, and was always on a journey to somewhere, and I just never knew where somewhere was, but didn't really take much time to sit back and enjoy each moment as I attain different levels of success in my life, personally and professionally, and was really focused on what was coming next and how I was going to maximize that or overcome that or succeed at the next thing. So yeah, I'd say that's how I sort of approached both my personal and professional life. And I think, yeah, it certainly served me to a point, but had gotten to a point where I could tell and knew within myself that the approach that I was taking, particularly professionally, was running its course and was coming to a point where I was going to need a different approach and to change how I viewed the world and where I found my motivation from. And while the approach I had to date had certainly served me and it helped me attain a level of success, I was acutely aware of the fact that it was starting to become a challenge to sustain.
Because I know that you also said that sleep was a bit of an issue, and it was more from that compounding stress and overthinking and all of those things. So when we're talking about finding new ways of being, it's also kind of stepping out of that, that what we end up creating in that deep state of stress, even showing up in our physical body.
Yeah, certainly. I think that for me, I'm able to reflect now and sort of with a degree of clarity, but I think so much of how I used to respond to the world previously was driven by fear. So I think a lot of people are driven by fear, and as I said, it served me. It was effective. Whether it's a fear of failure or a fear of acceptance or whatever, it can be an effective motivator, and it certainly was for me. But when you spend so much of your time living in fear or responding to fear as a way to move forward, I certainly found myself, and I know you guys talk about, that survival stress and being in that fight or flight mode. And I definitely feel like when we first met, that's where I was spending almost all of my time. And that was having a significant impact on my ability to switch off and to sleep. And I'd certainly got to a point where I felt like, if I was a car, I wasn't able to get out. I was always stuck in at least the idle. Like I couldn't completely switch my brain off, and I'd go to bed each night and really struggle to stop thinking and planning and strategizing and problem solving. And it was because I was, living in that position of fear and worry, and it got to a point where I wasn't able to relax and get the rest that I so desperately needed.
The mind had taken over.
Definitely.
What we live in.
And so how did you find the process of working with us, Tim? So, very different sort of coaching and healing styles. How did you find that?
Certainly very effective, and different. And again, being someone who was very much living, in my mind and trying to think my way out of everything, and solve every problem by thinking my way through it. I'd certainly got to a point where the traditional, self-help books and the like were almost compounding the problem, because it was giving me even more to think about and more problems to solve and more things to apply. And it was at a point where taking on more information that way was no longer serving me, and I needed to get to the actual doing and the action required to improve myself. And I think that was the biggest thing that certainly Greg highlighted right off the bat was it's time to sort of do the work, as opposed to looking, trying to accumulate more knowledge almost. So I certainly thought that was really effective for me to start focusing in on actual tangible, behavioral changes and changes to thinking, and, sessions with you guys where we unpicked stuff. Was really effective. I found it to be pretty confronting early on, and challenging, in a way that I didn't really foresee. I'm a pretty, I've always, until now, been pretty reluctant to share much of myself with people, and have been pretty private, and I'm, the master at deflecting personal questions and moving on with the conversation. And, to sit down with someone, and in all honesty, it was probably easier with the two of you, who I didn't know, to, in a funny way, to sort of open up in a way that I probably hadn't previously, which allowed me to really get to the bottom of what was fueling a lot of my, counterproductive behavior patterns.
Yeah, totally. What changes did you experience through it as you progressed?
It's hard to try and, I can certainly take myself back to where I was before we met, and then I can obviously sit in the present, to try and chunk it down to sort of the incremental changes. It's sort of hard to reflect on. It was sort of a bit of a blur as we moved through the process, but the degree of clarity and certainty that I was slowly able to attain with each session, with the two of you, as we sort of undid some of the really ingrained stuff that was no longer serving me and helping me be the best version of myself, and putting the best, or having the best impact on those around me. I think I've gone from being someone who brought an energy into a room that was very much, pretty intense. I was always pretty wound, pretty tight, and, the constant thinker, constant strategizer, constant problem solver. I really brought that energy into any room, whether it be personal or professional. And now I really pride myself on bringing a degree of calmness to any room that I walk into, and feel like that was one of the things that was, slowly built up from each, or was able to slowly achieve through each session with either of you, that every time we caught up, we moved the needle in that direction. And now I do feel like, particularly with my family, that I can walk into the house after a busy day, and I don't have to take time to switch off or anything like that. I feel like I bring that same level of calmness and peace to not only my colleagues, but especially and more importantly, in a way, to my kids.
Awesome. So what is life like now that you have that level of calm and peace and your mind's slowed down and your energy shifted, right? Like the deep energy healing work that Tracy's done has enabled you to kind of just shift who you are in the presence of everybody, family, business, the whole lot.
I think
like now?
In thinking about, particularly the time spent with you, Trace, I think that I wasn't in the past where I thought I was being present and in the moment, I was always still very much in my head. And now I have a completely different appreciation for what being truly present really means. And again, the impact that can have on the people around you. I certainly notice now, and like anyone, I'm human, and I still have days where the worries of the world get the better of me, and I almost can feel instantly the impact that energy has on the people around me, and particularly my family. If it's a weekend and I get out of bed on a Saturday morning and I'm carrying some of the the worries of the week with me as I start my day, almost instantly I can feel the impact in the air, and I'm able to sort of through awareness and some of the different techniques from you both, able to sort of rein that in really quickly and alter what I'm bringing to the table, which again, I can almost feel the impact that has on the people around me. And from a family perspective, that's been one of the real benefits.
Totally.
Beautiful. Because I know that you said to me that you sort of had this awareness partway through that you had kind of rushed all connections in your life, and even like varsity and whatever was the fastest way to get something done, and that you had missed out on really connecting. And then all of a sudden it was coming into this different place and actually, slowing down to actually enjoy life, because you already had a really successful life, Tim. A lot of people do, but they just don't have that space to truly open their eyes to see it or really enjoy, what they've created for themselves. So yeah, it was a pleasure working with you and to see that change.
It was awesome.
Yes, and I think on that point, like for someone like I've always, until very recently, just really thought of myself as the problem solver and look at every thing that is sort of around me or in my orbit or in my environment as something to, where are the efficiencies? What can I improve? What would I do differently? And to the inability to sort of switch that thinking off and then applying that to relationships resulted in me being, I held everyone at sort of arm's length because I was still thinking about myself rather than being truly present and, missing opportunities for connection. And I think that's been a real shift for me as well.
Yeah, we do go into protection mode when we're so overwhelmed with the responsibilities. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So not knowing exactly what you're in for when you come into this program, what would you say to other married businessmen that are watching this video that are considering working with Tracy and
I would say that just because an approach has brought you success to this point doesn't mean that's the best approach for you moving forward. And that the same sort of thinking around, if you're a successful business person and you've got a family, then, you've already to this point in your career, tried to, find better ways of doing things and looked at being the best version of yourself and tried to grow and all that sort of stuff. And maybe it's time to consider what other options might be out there that could provide you with the next natural step in your life that might help you move away from some of the things that are causing you to feel overwhelmed and stressed. And that, I don't know, there's, in my experience, and I can only speak on my own behalf, but, there's certainly other ways to still achieve, but to find the source of that achievement from a different place that doesn't cause the negative impact that perhaps living in fear and responding to life in that way can have.
Yeah, totally. It was an absolute pleasure working with you, mate. and seeing the change in just 6 short months. And we look forward to getting continued updates as you just continue on this trajectory, right? So
yeah, definitely.
Thanks so much for jumping on this video, buddy.
No worries at all. I appreciate it. And yeah, really appreciate the time that I spent with you guys over the last 6 months, and it'll certainly benefit me for a long time, and my family as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. Cheers, buddy.
Thanks a lot.